The Democrats are not looking to solve a real problem. They're just looking to market themselves better. That's it. They're looking to market the same dog shit product that they have that people have said no to over and over again. They're looking for new ways to put a new coat of paint, a new shinier coat of paint, and that's not going to work. You can't do that. It's still dookie.
And speaking of Joe Rogan, CNN is trying to paint him.
Yeah, here we are. The Dems are searching for a liberal Joe Rogan. The story I've been meaning to cover. Democrats throw money at a problem, countering GOP clout online. At private gatherings, strategists and donors are swapping ideas to help the party capture the digital mojo that helped President Trump win. Yes, there's a price tag. And the person they have on here is Brian Tyler Cohen. Brian Tyler Cohen, alongside some of these other content creators, who I have no issue with for the record, are a part of the party apparatus. Okay. And they actually do get a lot of play online. They get a lot of motion online. Having said that, I don't think that they have the same level of prominence as a figure like Joe Rogan. They do. What? Joe Rogan had like 12 million people at his peak, dog. I don't know what Joe Rogan's peak looked like. I don't even like the fact that they're just like looking for a liberal Joe Rogan or a left's Joe Rogan. Okay. The issue here is the Democratic Party doesn't want to change its ways. They just want someone to defend the Democrats. And anyone that is a party loyalist like that is not going to come across as a unique, organic voice in non-mainstream circles. BTC was a huge Pestany fan until the sex scandal. They were collabing a ton. Yeah, I heard David Pacman also pulled out of a event that he was supposed to do with Sex Pestany. Womp womp. A lot of these guys, for example, are noticeably absent from the conversation of Israel. And the reason why they're noticeably absent from the conversation of Israel and Gaza, or the genocide of Gaza and the genocide of Palestinians, is because they're party loyalists. They are already serving that role. More money to them and more prominence to them is not going to make up for the environment that the Democrats cannot capture. Even money to me, or Chapo Trap House, or any number of different leftist, outside of the scope of the party content creators, is not actually going to change the dynamic, because the issue here is the party. The issue here is the lack of interest in addressing people's real problems. Okay? That's the real issue. So if the party doesn't change, if the party does not change, no amount of influence peddling is going to change the way people see the party. As I've said over and over again, the Democrats have an issue. They cannot podcast their way out of this issue. Like, Brian's focus is entirely on Donald Trump and belittling the Republicans, which is great. There's obviously a lot of motion for that. There are a lot of liberals, just like David Pacman's numbers were popping before the election, right? But this is directionless slop for the most part, right? I mean, there are obviously things that deserve coverage, okay? There are obviously many things that he covers in throughout the day that are worthy of coverage. But this isn't anything different than what you get from like the New York Times, maybe a little bit more partisan, and that's it. You have to be pro something. You have to have a vision. There are so many different issues I have with the Joe Rogan of the left scenario. Obviously, hold on. Let me see if I can pull it real quick. Where is it? Oh, I said no amount of dollars spent will be as successful as directly advocating for all Americans' material interests, anti-war, free healthcare, college education, jobs programs, and public housing. If mainstream media failed, how will podcasts make Dems cool with the current smug technocratic gerontocracy? It's not going to work. Giving a bunch of TikTokers $100,000 to make podcasts promoting small business-focused tax cuts in underserved neighborhoods as long as they promise never to boycott Israel is not going to move the needle. Actually, that's not even true. They will move the needle. They will move the needle. It's just not enough. Because the goal that they're looking for, the person that they're looking for is not like a unique voice that is seen as apolitical by the unwashed masses. And their goal certainly isn't to change the trajectory of the party. Their goal is to throw money at this problem and continue with business as usual politics. Okay? Like 1,000 Harry Sassans is not going to actually craft a sophisticated enough media campaign that people that currently look at the Democratic Party with disdain turn around and go, yeah, I'm going to vote for you. It's not going to happen. It's certainly not going to happen on the debate sphere either. Because a lot of the problem here is that like people find themselves organically in the throes of reactionary politics. Joe Rogan didn't become a party loyalist. Joe Rogan still criticizes the Republican Party in ways that if you criticize the Democratic Party, you're out of this list. Right? The Republicans don't give a shit about the criticisms of the party coming from guys like this because they recognize the importance of being on platforms such as Joe Rogan's platform, being associated with them positively. Do you understand? It's a much broader media landscape. And yes, moneyed interests have played a role in the algorithms boosting right-wing commentary. If the Wilkes brothers and the Koch brothers didn't fund a lot of these like right-wing institutions ahead of the game, because they understand the value of propaganda, I'm sure that there wouldn't be nearly as much right-wing commentary on the platform. But there are different categories of content creation on the platform. You have the party loyalists that are directly mouthpieces for churning out American Enterprise Institute talking points or Manhattan Institute talking points. Okay, you have the Daily Wires of the world. That's that first bracket. Then you also have adjacent, like political adjacent content creators, people that do have some right-wing opinions, especially when it comes to social issues, that will often collaborate with the party mouthpieces like the Daily Wire and whatnot. Then you have apolitical spaces that also are maintained by people that speak to both sides, but you know, there's a lot of there is a lot of back and forth despite criticisms with the Republican Party. And then you have the liberal adjacent content creators who spend every waking moment, for example, shitting on prominent leftist content creators like myself. You have the slop tubers. So that entire dynamic, that entire space is slanted to the right. It is very, very hard to dismantle that and to create a propaganda network that will be able to target that in an organic way. You don't have the apolitical spheres locked down. And a lot of that apolitical stuff, a lot of those like apolitical guys find themselves in the throes of right-wing commentary because they respond negatively to the way that the Democratic Party presents itself. That's a huge problem. The Democratic Party presents itself. What is this? The Democratic Party presents itself in a very smug, entitled, annoying, elitist, technocratic fashion. And it does not appeal to the average person. At least these guys look at the Republicans and they're like, well, they'll let me be annoying and even say slurs every now and then without giving me a goddamn lecture. So I guess I find myself a little bit more on their side. Okay? This is a major issue. If a progressive Joe Rogan existed, they'd be exiled by the Democratic Party, which is incapable of receiving criticism. Obvious examples are Biden's age in Gaza. Yeah, this is why so many people present me as like an alternative to this, where they're like, well, there is a left Joe Rogan. His name is Hasan Piker. There's been a million different articles written about it. And what do I always say in those articles, seemingly to deaf ears? There is no podcasting your way out of this problem. You have to be able to respond to the organic resentment and disdain that your base of voters have for a lot of the issues that you present, a lot of the policies that you present. Reminder that incentives in the progressive movement make it impossible for a progressive Joe Rogan to exist. If one did exist, they'd exile him for his many weird beliefs. That's the ultimate reason why the online media ecosystem has turned so sharply against Democrats, but the left more broadly. The progressive movement has become a movement of scolds. They criticize and are eager to purge any voice from the ranks who break from progressive orthodoxy. What is this? I don't think the DNC likes you, man. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. You and Stavi call yourself the Joe Rogan of the left? No, they call us the Joe Rogan of the left, and we joke about it. There's a difference. You're so deep if Hasan can't get you out of it. What is that? Who are you barking at? Who are you growling at? What? Call the exorcist. Kai is going crazy. I don't know. This alienates moderates, independents, people who are generally non-political and have a mix of viewpoints. This process is especially potent online and hits the comedian podcast world especially hard. The progressive media ecosystem that does exist is either cannibalized by his own fans or dedicated to criticizing Democrats. As I've said time and time again, I would love to be the propaganda minister of a Democratic Party that is invested in fighting for American workers. But until the Democratic Party changes and becomes that party, I will not be its propaganda minister. As I've said time and time again throughout the election, I cannot outflank the Democratic Party. There is no reason, there's no way to offer people the policies that they want to hear from the Democrats while the Democrats are spending billions of dollars saying, no, we're against that actually. I can't just sit there and be like, Kamala Harris is anti-war. Trust me, she's amazing. She wants to end all wars, as a matter of fact. And then she goes on the DNC last night and says, I want a lethal military. I want the most lethal military America's ever had. I can't say Kamala Harris is a serious person who is invested in ending the genocide in Gaza and then have Kamala Harris the next day come out and sing Kumbaya with Liz Cheney. Anyway, Zaid Jalani says, I actually think the Democrat influencers kind of give the Democrats what they want. Most of the Democratic base is deferential to leadership and has been that way as long as I'm alive. Joe Rogan's base isn't really Republicans, it's independents. Also, this list is kind of silly, but the Democrats are not looking to solve a real problem. They're just looking to market themselves better. That's it. They're looking to market the same dog shit product that they have that people have said no to over and over again. They're looking for new ways to put a new coat of paint, a new shinier coat of paint on the same dookie. And that's not going to work. You can't do that. It's still dookie. It still smells like dookie. It looks like dookie. It's dookie. That's why this is a fruitless endeavor. There will be a little bit of motion, and I think it might change the online discourse a little bit, right? Especially if they're getting paid and they're like attacking right-wingers more aggressively, and there's more of an abundance of leftist voices or whatever, or not leftist voices, but like liberal voices that are pro-Democratic Party. But that is just the Daily Wire side of the equation. That's just the Daily Wire side of the equation. There's more to it than the Daily Wire. That's it.
Casters as the new establishment that helped elect President Trump and saying Kamala 20.
I have a feeling that one of their major goals is to attack people like you. I don't think the Democrats are that insane that they would spend money pumping people on the liberal Democrat Party side and focus their attention on people like myself. That would be insane. I'm sure some of the people that they fund will gladly punch left while they get that paycheck. But that in and of itself is the same issue. Yeah. Also, the reason why I say I don't think that they'll punch left on people like myself is because, like, if they did that, they wouldn't have invited me to the DNC.
24 run. But one of the comedians they interviewed is laughing off that idea.
Do you feel like you're part of a new establishment that's being created?
I don't think I'm part of a new establishment. If the idea is that me and a few comedians have more power than multi-billionaires, huge media institutions, a whole political party apparatus, I just don't think most people are going to buy that. I think it seems like a great way to excuse running an unpopular candidate on a platform that American people weren't sold on.
Very interesting. Greg, do you think Democrats are still missing the point?
I haven't seen Tim Dillon cook that hard. That's crazy. That's like shocking. That is legitimately shocking. That was wild.
Point. Joe Rogan was not born in a political lab. He's an original. He's authentic. He's got a brain like you. Like nobody can copy you, Greg. You cannot have a copy of Joe Rogan.
No, here's the deal. Democrats should watch the Tim Dillon interview by the CNN reporter, Ellie Reeves, I think, because you'll see two different mindsets, and the reporter is trapped in.
Because you don't watch him, Tim has always said that type of stuff about media and politics. Yeah, I just think it's like weird that he's so aligned with some of the biggest, grossest freaks. That's the only thing. Like, a guy who makes a tremendous amount of content around, you know, the pedophilic elite has no issues having Kevin Spacey do the introduction to his Netflix comedy special. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? I don't understand it. And I know Tim knows who I am. I know. And we are in alignment on a lot of stuff. I just don't get some of the stuff that he does where I'm like, the f*** are you doing?
In this rhetorical prison where every question she asks is, what was Elon thinking? What was J.D. Vance thinking? They are paralyzed. The left is paralyzed in this like default setting of mind reading. They think that they can read your mind. They know that you're having racist thoughts. You can't be serious when you said what you said. You really don't believe that, do you? This is a huge downfall for the left because as a filter to predict daily events, mind reading fails because you can't mind read. There's a classic piece of advice, and I would give it to everybody. What someone else is thinking is none of your business. Such a relief. Because if you resort to mind reading, you will always choose the wrong path because it's always the worst intention. It's like, Jesse doesn't like me. It's like, it's the person, you know, the most.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. The most miserable person is the person that constantly goes, are you mad at me? What did I do? Did I do something? What's wrong? It's like, I wasn't even thinking about you. I was thinking about my dinner. So when you look at the most hysterical, miserable people on the left, the lonely, mentally unstable, they are assuming that they know everybody's faults. When Musk.
There's something so funny about like describing the left in this way, in terms like this, the lonely and mentally unstable, when like, I think that's bipartisan, man. Like, who do you think is more mentally unstable? Like the lonely and mentally unstable leftists online or the groiper right? Like, dude, here, I'll give you a great example of how the groiper right operate. Okay. There's a guy, what's his name? The guy that's been on YouTube for 10 years. He was popping on TikTok. The guy who recently quit. What's his name? The old guy that, Outdoor Boys. So Outdoor Boys, I think is a Mormon family, and he is, he's basically cultivated this like incredible community, right? And he has consistently made great content. He just like goes out there in Alaska, puts himself in like crazy positions. Okay. He never pushed his beliefs though. No, I know. He just made straightforward. I'm going out there and I'm like living out in the mountains of Alaska for a little bit. That type of content. I'm gonna make a.
Hey everyone, this is going to be my last video for a little while.
Yeah, he was like 3 million or whatever, but he gained like 12 million subs in 6 months because of TikTok. He really blew up on TikTok. He's been doing this for like 10 years, but he really, really, really blew up on TikTok. And then a lot of people started watching his videos on YouTube as well. I mean, he was a big content creator on YouTube anyway, but he became a massive content creator on YouTube after his blow up on TikTok. And no outdoor boy hate will be tolerated. It's not. No, why would I hate on him? He's just he is exactly the type of content creator that is the perfect content creator. Okay. He is the perfect content creator. Just keeps to himself, does his own thing, doesn't actually have like an agenda where he's just trying to like tell you, you know, gay people are evil or whatever secretly. Okay. He's the reason why I love honey butter and bread. Here we go. Another certified Hasanabi bad take. What? I'm not disagreeing with him, you baboon. I agree with him. I'm making a larger point about how the right reacted. Can you let me cook for a second? Hey guys, he quit. Okay? He quit because parasocial weirdos were up his asshole and he wanted to maintain his privacy and he wanted to be with his family. And guess what happened in the process? Every single right-winger acted like they were scorned. They started proving the point as to why he actually ended up wanting to take a long hiatus. The reason why he took a long hiatus was because he was getting annoyed with the additional fandom that he was experiencing. And this is how the right reacted. Don't let your ugly wife give you an ugly life. That's my black pill tweet for today. This guy just loves his wife and his children. He wanted to have a normal life. And all of a sudden, the people that actually loved everything that he was putting out turned on him and started going freak mode on him, proving why he should quit. That's how the right wing operates. Who do you think is more insane? Okay? Hasanabi talks about socialism while being rich. Oh my God. I'm not attacking him, you freaks. God damn. How can you be in here for 70 months and be so goddamn stupid? Here, this is another stupid take from Hasan. Shut the f up. I dread the day you drop this version of this video. It's going to come sooner rather than later with the way that my freak ass, stupid ass, parasocial fans behave. God damn.
You know, I've been making YouTube videos for 11 years now. First with the Catfish and Carp YouTube channel, then with this, the Outdoor Boys YouTube channel. And believe it or not, I've made 1,110 videos. It's been a wild ride. The amount of time and energy that I've dedicated to making YouTube videos is hard to communicate. So many late nights editing and packing and unpacking, camping with pneumonia, building log cabins while injured. But it's been a tremendous adventure and it's allowed me to provide for my family while making wonderful memories with my wife and kids. But even good things can be taken too far, and I think I'm starting to reach that point. But I'm not just talking about the time and energy I spend making YouTube videos, I'm also talking about the attention it brings. In just the last 18 months, this YouTube channel has gained about 12 million subscribers. And because of people stealing my content and posting it on other platforms, my family and I have been viewed about 4 billion times, in addition to the 2.8 billion views on YouTube. The sheer volume of fans trying to contact me, trying to take pictures with me, or just trying to come up and talk to me in public could be a bit overwhelming at times. And my wife and I, we both have real concerns about what this will do to our family if I keep growing my YouTube channel at this pace. And the time to stop is before this problem gets so out of hand that my family and I can't live normal lives. Now, there's more than one reason for making this decision, and I still enjoy making videos and I still enjoy going on ventures, but it's time to start focusing on other things. And that's what I'm going to be doing. For one thing, I've got 3 little boys who all want to be YouTubers, including my oldest son, Tom, who's got his own channel, the Outdoor Tom YouTube channel. But I want to spend more time helping him with his channel and preparing him to be an adult, which is going to be in less than 6 years. But I've spent so much time focusing on me and my family and growing my business. It's time to step back and focus on helping other people for a change. And I'm excited to see where that takes me. But all that being said, I have a lot of half-finished videos, including the homestead project.
Like, one of the craziest aspects of this is like when people come out with like a totally normal response like this, and then the fan base's first reaction to that is like, you owe me. You owe me. You owe me more content. Like, I will kill myself if I can't watch your YouTube videos while I eat dinner alone. You know what I mean? It's just insane. Like, the selfishness is insane. Let people live, man. It's so insane. And I see so many people justifying this kind of parasocial behavior too, with the fact that it's like, well, he made his money off of like developing a relationship with his fans. It's like, no, dude, you developed that relationship. And now he's saying he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to play a part of this. Crazy that Lou from the Outdoor Boys is leaving YouTube partially due to the focus on his family and their safety. And there's comments like this: he'll be back in a year, probably divorced. Typical boomer mentality right there. Classic female tactic to lower his status to her level. Women suck, Montana Groiper. Women ruin everything. Some OnlyFans bunny tried to score him. Dude failed the shit test with flying colors. Bro doesn't flinch to wild wolves, but his wife folds like a house of cards. L. These people have so much disdain for women. It's insane. They think every problem, behind every major problem in their lives, even if the problem is not even a real problem, they should just like find a different YouTuber to watch. Jesus Christ. Immediately they're like, oh, it must be a woman that's at fault here. How do you fix these people? They're such freaks. And the biggest freak ass part of this, the biggest freak part of this entire process is that they're not even ashamed of saying stuff like this, because there is no social mechanism that actually tells people to not do this. Okay? If there were third spaces, if there were more interpersonal communication, if there was more peer-to-peer communication in the real world, there would be at least some social pressure in the form of shame that would most likely cause people to be a little bit more normal. But the more time we spend online and the more things happen online that impact our lives in the real world, the worse people get. It's crazy. Freaks.
Some travel adventures and even some extreme camping trips I've been planning for the last 6 months. But if I decide to finish those videos, or if I decide to film any other adventures after today, I'll post them at the end of the year, all in one big dump. But no matter what, this is going to be my last video for a while. Now, I know there's some of you out there who've gotten more than just entertainment from my videos. If you feel my videos have helped you in some way, then go out and find someone you can help. I'll see you guys later.
That's it. Anyway, I think the rage over this is so terrifying. We're truly entering a dark age of individualism. We need to have culture in America desperately. We cannot continue down this path. Yeah. He's just like a normal dude, man. He's just a dude who had a unique and particular interest in like being outdoors. That's it. He was an outdoor boy. No, he didn't die. He just stopped. He said he's taking a long hiatus. But people are reacting in a very unhealthy manner. And it's a lot of right-wing content creators that are reacting in a very unhealthy manner to it. So that's the reason why I brought that up, is because Greg Buttfelt was over here talking about how like, shitty and mentally ill the left is. I don't think so. I think everyone is shitty and mentally ill, but it's especially right-wingers. Most of you do spewing vitriol over him, leaving you to watch him climb mountains, build fires, and sleep under stars because your life feels like a waiting room with fluorescent lights. You use the freedom to escape your own cage. And now you chose his family, or now that he chose family over feeding your parasocial fantasy, you resort to attacking them because you won't be getting your hit of wilderness and purpose between coffee breaks. Yeah. Also, all of these insane attacks against him and his family prove his point as to why he was like, this is too much. This always comes in waves, by the way. Psychoanalysis on Twitter. Okay, dude, it's correct. Are you offended because it hit you? It hit too close to home? Is that what happened? Is this your defense mechanism to be like, psychoanalysis on Twitter? How silly. I'm so above that. This is no way to live your life, okay? It's not. It's not a good way to live your life. It's just not. If this is everything to you, if this is all you care about, and this is all you got going on, and at the first sight of one of your treats being taken away from you, you piss and shit your pants and lose your goddamn mind like this, then you are not living a life at all. Anyway, let's get back to Buttfeld now.
Salutes. He's a Nazi. When Trump said find people, he's a racist. When Trump said bloodbath, he meant violence. There are thousands of examples of this, and they're always wrong. Tim was incredibly patient with this. And all he kept saying to her is, I don't know what he was thinking. How would I know what he's thinking? That's how you deal with it.
So, Shannon, I mean, the Democrats are thinking that maybe it was their social media presence that didn't win them the elections. But Joe Rogan said they had him until they didn't.
And the thing is, they're right to recognize that these podcasters became super powerful. We saw the influence of them. But when you try to say, okay, let's go out in a lab, as you said, and create our person, our Joe Rogan of the left or whatever it is. First of all, these podcasters do not like the really powerful ones, popular ones, to be siloed. They're not all Republican. They're not all Democrat or liberal or conservative. They don't like to be pigeonholed at all. But you can't create something that younger people feel is authentic. Like you said, they want authenticity. That's what we keep hearing from young people. And if it's about who's out there shilling for you, the vice president, former vice president, had the biggest stars in all of culture. I mean, when you got Oprah and Beyonce and all these people showing up for you, if that didn't work, that's not going to solve the problem. There's this Democratic data firm today called Catalyst that put out all of these terrible numbers of what happened to Democrats in the fall. They lost with younger voters, men, voters of color, infrequent voters. They said the results were so bad that for the first time since they've been crunching all this data, that younger, infrequent, and new voters who tend to shift to Democrats, they were at less than 50%.
I mean, she's right, by the way. People are going, Oprah. Dude, this is why I laugh whenever a dumb like Ethan try to be like, Hasan is the reason why Kamala Harris lost. That is the absolute dumbest position. That is the absolute dumbest position you can arrive at. You know someone's right-wing pivot has started when they start defending pedophilia? What?
Matter.
Oh, my Lord. Okay, listen. Listen. When dumb like Ethan or any number of different dumb fucks are like, oh, Hasan, are you happy? You caused Kamala Harris to lose. Do they not understand that Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris? Do they think I have more power than Taylor Swift? It's not even just the fact that old media no longer has the same relevance as new media. This is true. New media has a lot more relevance. But the point I was trying to make with my tweet was exactly this, which is that if the multi-billion-dollar apparatus of mainstream media that is slanted towards liberalism, a lot more power and prominence than, the podcast orbit or whatever, if they can't do this, why the would a couple podcasters be able to change that? You do, man. Who gives a about their political opinion? No, you are deluding yourself. I'm not saying I have no influence. I'm saying that I cannot outflank the Democratic Party's positions. And the very fact that they're out there looking for a liberal Joe Rogan, when in fact Joe Rogan was the liberal Joe Rogan, and they yelled at him for being the liberal Joe Rogan who endorsed Bernie Sanders, and they also yelled at Bernie Sanders, should clue you in on some of the major failures of the party in the way that they communicate. They consistently go in the reactionary slant after elections on issues that they are actually supposed to combat on. They don't know how to fight back on issues like trans issues, for example. They don't know how to actively fight back on shit like this. The real way to deal with trans issues is to deflect away and recognize it as the distraction that it actually is, the red herring that it actually is. The method is simple. I say it all the time. I told Theo Von this as well when we had that conversation. He was blown away by it, where he's like, I never thought about it like that. When I said your landlord is not a Guatemalan migrant, okay? Your boss is not a trans person. These are the real people that are and the real systems that are causing harm in your life. And the Republicans do a very good job of taking all that resentment that you experience on a daily basis, going through the trials and tribulations of being a cog in the machine of capitalism, and they turn around and present much more vulnerable enemies to distract you away from the real problem, the super wealthy and corporations. Also, even if your boss was a trans person, or even if your landlord was an undocumented migrant, they wouldn't be shitting on you because they're trans or an undocumented migrant. They would be shitting on you as your landlord. They would be shitting on you as your boss. That's it. It's the structural problems that we must clear, but the Democrats never address those structural inequalities, and instead play this like incredibly weird role where even when they are defending certain marginalized identities, they do it in this like incredibly cynical fashion where it's just a deflective shield, just like Israel says, you know, you're anti-Semitic if you criticize Israel. Democrats will be like, oh, I guess you're transphobic. I guess you're homophobic. I guess you're racist for hating the Democratic Party. And then you ask them if you're gay or trans or a migrant or related to undocumented migrants. You're like, well, what are you doing for them? They go, shut the f up. Shut the f up and vote for us. What a stupid way to try and win support. It's insane. For the past couple of decades, they've just simply adopted the framework of you have to vote for us or else the alternative is significantly worse. And while the alternative is significantly worse, more and more people will go, all right, I'm still not voting. F you. And there's nothing you can do about it. The Joe Rogan of the left, that's my goat. I want to see what the fucking take
Their
is.
commentary on the matter.
I wonder if he would pack her lunch. She was
Someone
high
needs
school,
to.
right?
Although she was old enough to pack her lunch. Don't be rude. 17, come on. Don't infantile her. Don't treat her like a baby.
What?
So there it is. I mean, it's quite possible you probably just paid her not to talk about it.
I
too.
was thinking the same, quite honestly. I hope so.
We have
I
to
hope
do
she's doing great.
We have to
because
do
of
our
it.
ad. Thank
Ugh. I mean, he's trying to make a joke, by the way. He's not saying he's pro Seinfeld dating a 17-year-old. You guys are reading too much into it. I know he's not the best comedian. Yeah, you're bait posting. Ugh. I don't really care. Anyway, I shouldn't have even watched that. That's just like the guy who debated you on stream during your Cambridge visit cooked Charlie on stage and debated and called what Israel's doing a genocide. No way. The guy that was yelling at me about my anti-Semitism and defense of the Houthis and shit like that, cooked Charlie Kirk. He's now the president of the debate club. Oh, I love to see growth.
What African country is currently ongoing a civil war?
Believe it or not, I know about Sudan because I'm not an idiot.
How about what Southeast Asian country has an ethnic cleansing going on right now?
Myanmar.
Good. And you have strong opinions on both sides?
Unlike you, I take an effort to be informed about foreign policy and to come to conclusions. You are a culture warrior. I believe when everything is done, Mr. Kirk, people will see you and the people you've supported as corrupt, as selling the country out to the lowest bidder and of doing irreparable damage to a country I'm sure we all deep down love.
The difference,
I think you will have to reckon with that
difference
one, Mr. Kirk.
is when...
It's not growth. He's a fair weather debate pervert. He only says the inverse of his opponent in order to win the audience. I mean, I don't think he won the audience when he was coming after me, super aggressive style. I enjoyed my debate with him, for the record. That's why I kept talking to him after the fact. I just debated Cambridge and Oxford. At Cambridge, instead of focusing on their own decaying country, they're obsessed with Israel. The lack of moral clarity on this topic is chilling. I decided to put this bouncy Brit in his place. Watch. He didn't listen to a word you said after the talk. I don't know. It seems like he's still arrived at the same conclusion. Bouncy Brit is pretty funny, not gonna lie. That is cap. I put this bouncy Brit in his place. Bro literally drops the mic to enormous applause as Charlie stands there miserable and humiliated. Did you edit out what happened right after the part where he absolutely bodied you? Oh, that's so devastating. He's a D fan. D is basically a fair weather debater himself. They just love the thrill of winning a debate. He calls it Trump's genocide now. These people are kind of gross. Charlie Kirk to contact U.S. State Department over Lucy Connolly. What she said would not be any prison time in America. Is this the way that a liberal democracy and ally of the United States acts? You gave free speech in the world. You gave free speech to the world and are becoming a totalitarian country. What is this? Who's Lucy Connolly?
Hour or so today, it's Tuesday today, she's had her appeal denied, so she's going to be carrying out her 2.5-year sentence for a solitary tweet, which she deleted 4 hours later. What's your take on the whole situation? Well,
I suspect that she is a fascist, right? If Charlie Kirk is going out of his way, if Charlie Kirk is going out of his way to defend someone like this on free speech grounds, I assume they got to be a wife of an MP who said to burn hotels. Oh my God. During an active pogrom, the wife of an MP that said to burn specifically the hotel that actually they were trying to burn. If that's not that, first of all, what she said would not be any prison time in America is wrong. What she said literally would be prison time in America because they did burn the hotel, not the wife of an MP. I mean, her position doesn't fucking matter. The real free speech debate here should be the kneecap boys, but I suspect Charlie is not going to come out and defend those guys because he doesn't give a fuck about actual defensible instances of free speech. Since Charlie is now bald, will provide solidarity. Free speech is only for racists, I have learned. Yes, it's true. All right, let's hear what Tim Dillon is saying.
I ask because
Yeah.
do you feel like you're part of a new establishment that's being created?
I don't think I'm part of a new establishment. I think it would be pretty difficult to look at these podcasts. I know it's a popular thing right now, especially in certain media circles, to say that after running an incredibly unpopular candidate who was introduced very late in the race because an elderly man who could not be the president, who everyone told was functioning as the president for 4 years, decided to, this wind is wild, huh?
Yeah.
See? But this was a very specific circumstance in which Kamala Harris ran for the presidency.
Yeah.
She was somewhat unpopular, and she was not a star in Democratic politics before this at all. And her communication strategy was pretty weak. I think most people have admitted that. So to hang this defeat all on a few podcasts and to say that they were the problem, I just don't buy the narrative. So I don't think I'm a new establishment. If you weigh, again, a few comedians with podcasts versus all of the people that supported Kamala Harris, you know, Democrat donors, billionaires, big people. If the idea is that me and a few comedians have more power than multi-billionaires, huge media institutions, a whole political party apparatus, I just don't think most people are going to buy that. I think it seems like a great way to excuse running an unpopular candidate on a platform that American people weren't sold on.
I think even beyond politics, though, even beyond the question of the election, like, again, I know the liberal Joe Rogan conversation is so dominant, and I think not nuanced enough, but there is power in a massive audience.
There's absolutely power in a massive audience, but if you're saying that power is equal to the CIA or all of these other people that have been very critical of President Trump, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that the power that Theo Von has would be equal to the intelligence agencies or these massive legacy media institutions seems crazy.
But you got way more audience than when you're saying we don't have power, we're not the CIA. Well, there's some gradations between that, and also I'm sure there's
Well, just you use the word.
I don't think he's wrong. And by the way, he has every opportunity here to puff his chest and flex about the unprecedented amount of influence that he has, just as I do when all these same exact media operations are coming to me being like, oh, you're the left's Joe Rogan. You're the left's Joe Rogan. But he's not wrong. He's not wrong when he says yes, they have influence. Same with myself as well. But no one here is a kingmaker, okay? Because at the end of the day, you still have to look at the goddamn parties. You have to look at the parties and the policy and the way that they present themselves. It's not just a messaging issue. Oh. Sorry for the off topic. Have you covered Asmongold's recent videos farming white genocide bullshit regarding South Africa? No, but I'm not surprised that he would take a white nationalist position alongside the President of the United States of America because he's a moron.
Establishment.
Yeah.
I didn't say that we didn't have any power or that audiences weren't powerful. But when you use the term establishment, I think that that's more than just having an audience. That's having an institutional component that I don't think we have. But I think legacy media does. I think the government and the intelligence communities do. I think Hollywood certainly does. And I think all of those people, all of those power factions have worked together for a very, very, very long time. So to say that a few comedians with podcasts equal that seems crazy.
I see
to
why
me.
you say. Okay, I understand.
That's the only thing I'm saying.
Like, even the dumbest American could still realize that Biden was mentally decrepit.
You know, again,
and I guess in some ways, the Democratic Party machine was even dumber than the dumbest American, because they turned around and thought that they could like keep up this song and dance. You're biting on his pivot. He's discounting his pull. He has millions of people's attention for hours and hours a day. Hollywood does not have that power. Tim's response is nonsense. The context of this conversation was how cozy his media cohort is with the administration. By the way, the CIA would kill to have his platform. Dude, you are failing to comprehend what I'm saying. I'll give you an example. If I had this level of, if every single podcaster, here, great example for you. If every single podcaster tomorrow, alongside myself, we all got together. I know all these people. I communicate with all these people. And I somehow got all of them to literally ride for Jill Stein. Do you think Jill Stein makes it out as a third-party candidate? Do you think the entirety of the podcast circle getting together and backing Jill Stein would have actually made Jill Stein win a single state? One state. I'm willing to bet that not a single state would be won by Jill Stein and the Green Party. And we don't even have to entertain this idea. Joe Rogan at his peak, far more powerful and prominent than he is now, endorsed Bernie Sanders. So did I. Did that move the needle? No, it didn't. You cannot outflank the goddamn parties and the message that they're putting out there. Just like no matter how many great policies the Democrats were to even present, if Joe Biden was the guy, it was a bridge too far for many Americans. They were like, nope, he's too old. I think that if you had all these podcasts hammering that for multiple cycles, you can move the needle. But I see your point. Dude, that in and of itself is already proving the point that I'm making. I think for a lot of people, like you consume my content, okay? So I get why you are the worst possible person for me to shake some sense into. Everyone in here tends to, and all of my haters as well, who are also extremely online, tend to overestimate the influence that people like myself and others have over the broader populace, over the broader population of voters, okay? The overwhelming majority of voters don't know who the I am. You aren't Joe, though. Okay, you're still going back to Joe Rogan and totally avoiding the point that I made about Joe Rogan, which was that Joe Rogan endorsed Bernie Sanders. And he had more prominence at that point. He had more influence at that point. And what did that do? Nothing.
I can name you.
I think you and other streamers really downplay the reach people get. No, we are not. We are telling you critically. We are telling you. I'm telling you that, yes, of course I have a lot of influence. Of course I have a lot of influence. That doesn't mean it's enough influence to literally change the dynamic of an election, especially when the party is indefensible. It's not that I'm giving up. It's that I'm being honest. March, what's good? Cameras here, bags here. 2 of the batteries are on the couch getting charged. Hopefully they're charged enough.
Very successful left-wing or left of center comics who are playing in theaters and arenas and have movies out. And then I can name you some which apparently now there's 5 podcasters that dominate the whole world. This is a crazy thing. But this is every article that's been written since the election.
I understand.
Is that 5 guys now are the only people in comedy who make money or have audiences. It's the craziest narrative.
I legitimately don't understand why you get criticized on the left so much. I don't fully agree with everything you say, but for the most part, most of what you say I do. I think you're very pragmatic and strategic, though I commend your efforts. You try to keep your goals realistic and understand why you get so frustrated with chatters. I get criticized by the left because the format that I exist under is super, super clippable in a negative way. In a positive way as well, which I think my fans do a decent job with, right? There's a lot of like content out there on TikTok from fan channels that are clipping some of the points I make. A lot of them go viral. It's great. But the content that I make also is endlessly clippable in a negative direction, where someone can just like take something completely out of context and just constantly pummel it. And when I have a steady, like a massive audience of haters that farm all of that negative attention and have been doing so to relative success for the past like 5 years at this point, you know, people end up moving. People end up getting swayed by that. A lot of apolitical people end up getting swayed by that. Especially because no one has enough time to watch even a 20-minute video. It's much easier to watch someone else's 20-minute video that captures all of my worst moments from their perspective, that's like negatively placed in front of people, so that you can just have like this bite-sized apolitical framework that is much easier to consume.
Ever, and it came off the heels of running one of the most unpopular candidates with a platform that the American people largely rejected. They largely rejected this platform, and they rejected it in 2016, and then everybody got together and said, it's actually these 5 guys who had podcasts. They're the most powerful people in the world. They're the new establishment, and they're the reason for this electoral defeat.
From October 2024, Pew poll, social media is the primary news source for 20% of Americans, podcasts for 5%, other 4%. Well, social media and podcasts work side by side, though. Because when people say social media is a primary source, these podcasters are on every platform. I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitch. So obviously I'm covering a lot of that, okay? And so is Tim and everyone else. So yeah, all of this stuff is silly at the end of the day if you're not going to change any of your policies, and instead, if you're not going to change any of your policies, and instead you're going to go out and I don't know, play tickle party games with Liz Cheney. All right. Another Tim Dillon clip. Okay.
All those people who had the left-wing shows like Amy Schumer and Michelle Wolf, Samantha Bee, those have all been canceled. All those shows are canceled.
Well, but there'll be new ones. There'll be new ones. I mean, do you not have the faith? Do you think there's going to be no left-wing comedy?
I don't see like a little ecosystem or like a galaxy.
There's a galaxy.
World,
there's
right?
An establishment.
There's Rogan, and there's all this stuff.
I mean, is Trevor Noah not popular? He does arenas.
He's an
arena comedian. He's one of the most popular comedians in the country. Hassan Minaj, Ronnie Chang, these guys are all left-wing, and they're all really funny, really popular comics who I'm friends with and like.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't think this thing's happening. Whatever everyone thinks happening, I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I don't think Tim is wrong on this. I'm not going to lie. I think he's right. No, I don't think he's wrong. There are a shit ton of... I mean, he's wrong when he says, like, Trevor Noah is really funny, but that's besides the point. Like, there are incredibly famous left-wing comedians out there. Bill Burr is probably the greatest comedian of our generation, consistent. He is the most left-wing comic out there. What the are we talking about? I'm shocked that he didn't even bring up Bill Burr. He does?
Is happening. This idea that like left-wing like where are they? Where are they to be found? Where's Amy Schumer? I don't know. She's in her $15 million townhouse in Brooklyn. I think she'll be okay. I will text a few of them and go, people are worried about you.
Okay.
I think they're okay.
The idea that Stav is going to save the Dem Party is this collective cope that comes from the fact that nobody believes that the Dem Party is capable of changing. Yeah, also, people like myself or people like Stavros or even like other comics, for example, I'm not saying I am a comedian, but like media personalities that have a political idea are not going to stand aside and turn around and be like, we love the Dems. Yeah, Amy Schumer's a great example of this because she is a Democratic Party mouthpiece. Ain't nobody gives a about what Amy Schumer has to say about politics. Amy Schumer's not left-wing, but she is definitely a Democrat. I mean, she's literally related to Chuck Schumer. Perhaps the Democrats should work on, ironically enough, if their hyper-focus is about getting media prominence, perhaps they should focus on some of the most outspoken media that covers the Democrats in a negative fashion, myself included, and take notes from what our commentary revolves around and then change their policies in that direction, because I think that would be more impactful for the Democratic Party's future prospects. Because I think people like myself or people like Bill Burr or any number of different like independent media outlets that do criticize the Democratic Party are unironically closer to the people's demands than the DC media bubble that they are invested in. That's it. And the polls show this reality. I mean, everybody hates the Republicans, but god damn, they even hate the Democrats more. And the reason why they hate the Democrats is because the Democratic Party's base hates the Democrats. At least the Republicans' base likes the Republicans, but the Dem base doesn't like the Democrats right now. One must ask the question, why? I'm sorry, but if you're getting outflanked by a podcaster that was literally invited to the inauguration on the issue of Israel, which is I know everyone wants to brush it aside and say it's not that significant, but definitely a major point of contention for basically every American at this point. Like, if you're getting outflanked by Theo Vaughn, who literally interviewed Donald Trump, played a role in Donald Trump actually humanizing himself, went to the inauguration, what are you doing? They do this for everything. They're supposed to be the popularists, right? They're supposed to take their notes on transphobia. On transphobia, they love listening to the polls. They're like, nope, sorry, trans people. I guess you're going to have to die. We didn't defend you at all, but we're going to defend you even less. Actually, we're just going to fight you alongside the Republicans. And somehow we'll be able to win support back doing that for some reason. Not going to work. Very stupid. But when it comes to Israel, they're like, whoa, calm down. No popular sentiment there. When it comes to Medicare for all, nope. Popular sentiment doesn't matter. Shut the fuck up. Perhaps the reason why popular sentiment doesn't matter on all those issues where you don't even have to demonstrate moral courage, by the way. Perhaps the reason why they don't want to listen to that shit is because they are invested in the moneyed interest. They're invested in maintaining their position as a controlled opposition party. You know? I work with hundreds of people and none of them seem to know much about what's going on in Israel. I think you overestimate Americans' awareness. This guy again. If you ask them, do you think what Israel's doing is good? I think the overwhelming majority of them would be like, nah, not really. At least polls don't show what you are explaining. And Israel is just one example. Ask them if they want free healthcare. Notice how I said not just Israel, but other issues as well. So many people know. Bro said he works with hundreds of people and just lied. Yeah, I work with 1,000 people every day, and I polled them on their opinions, okay? Yeah, for some reason, nobody is speaking out loud about Israel at my workplace. I go to work every day, and no one is taking the time out of their day to start talking about Israel. You want to know why? Because if someone randomly did that, you'd be like, that's a Nazi. Okay? People still have the awareness to recognize that maybe is not the best look. Okay? out of nowhere if they brought it up. But if you were to ask them about what they think about Israel, I'm sure plenty of them would just be like, yeah, that's up. What cable? No, there's a splitter on the ground over there. No, I know the splitter, but another one of those swirly guys. Wait, this one? Well, try it. Try it and see. I don't know. What's up? No, I don't have gum here. Just nicotine gum. What is what bullshit? What? Dude, it's on the kitchen island, or on the next to where the charger is. Hey, y'all. Austin's here, and Christian's here, and Marge is here. And we're gonna go spud time. Gonna go spud it up, lads. Now, spud time. The biggest political Twitch streamer in the world just told tens of thousands of people I should kill myself. I will report to the Australian Federal Police to make sure that he is denied a visa to enter Australia in the future. Wait, what? Okay, good luck, Drew. Body cam footage of international terrorist Drew Pavlov's arrest following a CPS raid has been released. What are you looking at? Why are you standing there showing me your midriff, you slut? Yeah, also, why did Asmongold, who is the biggest political Twitch streamer in the world, why did Asmongold tell him that? Well, Asmongold's never leaving his house, let alone flying to Australia, so don't worry. Can't do a lefty Joe Rogan because you'd never find a liberal who's willing to entertain the possibility that the giant of Kandahar might be real. Wrong. I am that guy. You don't know what self-reflection looks like until you get called a grifter by Asmongold. Oh my God. Asmongold reacts to the Aiden Ross and Connor Eats Pants drama. Fake personality. Oh, shows a grift off shitting on the most popular thing. A lot of Minecraft streamers do this instead of trying to rebuild their community. Damn, dude. 68,000 likes. When I see stuff like this, I am reminded that like the incredibly narrow focus that we have on this stupid platform, like even on Elon Musk's platform, the Nazi platform, even the other Nazis don't with Asmongold, okay? Like, you can try every goddamn day. You can try all day, okay? You can pop off on YouTube all you want. It doesn't matter. When the average person that takes daily showers encounters this man's opinion, they go, oh my God, how can someone live like this? Getting called a grifter by the Roach King himself. I'm trying to get you to read this. Good take? No, I'm not going to read it. We are going to be going to get a spud later. Brutal new data for Democrats on the demographic shifts in the 2024 election. They lost ground or failed to improve with every cohort and sub-cohort, with the exception of a 1-point gain among married white women. Spuds are stuffed potatoes, jacketed potatoes. We did it, Joe. Dude, imagine being so shitty. Imagine being such a disastrously shitty party that the guy who was like, we're going to melt every brown person, was able to make major ground with a bunch of Latino men. Like the alternative wasn't like, why would anybody vote for the Democrats, man? Why? They are just the gayer and more smug and annoying version of the Republican Party. Why would anybody vote for that? It's like the diet soda version for a country that does not care about getting diabetes. One of the funniest things I hear so regularly is stupid ass liberals that still have the audacity to come in here and be like, Kamala Harris would have been better on Gaza. It's like, bitch, she's not even running for president right now. And it's an incredibly popular issue. She's literally not said a single damn thing until Eden Alexander was released. And then she still was like, awful Hamas terrorist piece of shits. Thank God for our big, beautiful, brave President Donald Trump releasing Eden Alexander from the treacherous grips of Hamas. He was just a simple boy. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? She has every opportunity. She's not in politics right now. She has every opportunity. If she was this like bold Israel destroyer that you claim she is, she'd probably be out there at least being like, yeah, this is really up that the Trump administration is doing this genocide. I would have actually done something different if it were up to me. No, that wasn't the one that was kidnapped from a tank. That was the one that was kidnapped from a military installation. She ain't talking about Trump's deportation policies, partially because she also was advancing that same cause, obviously. You know? Kamala Harris is the Jill Stein of the Democratic Party. It's crazy. What is this? What the f*** is this? Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear? What? Hasan Piker's bitched about me in his live stream to tens of thousands of people. Do you understand what power this is? A random 25-year-old from Australia, completely rent-free inside the Hasan Piker OODA loop. This man does not stop posting about me. God, I knew that Bad Empanada should not have mentioned that little creature. Is it true that Trump is get angry Bibi? Angry get Bibi? No.